Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little more serious because the subject matter is kind of dark. So I just want to warn you, if there's gonna be, I'm just gonna go ahead and put in a trigger warning, just in case you're kind of sensitive to the topic of the death penalty. I suggest that you probably not watch this video. But yeah, today we're going to talk about influencers and how they've kind of dealt with the situation of Brandon Bernard's execution that happened yesterday. I'm filming this the day after he was put to death. So there's been a lot of influencer things that have come out of this, a lot of drama that have come out of this, and I just want to talk about it. And I've always kind of wanted to talk about the situation, and I've kind of touched on it in another video. I'll go ahead and link that video down below. But I definitely wanted to talk about influencers and their activism because I think that it's a really interesting and important topic that has arisen from the year 2020. But before I do get into it, please go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notifications so that you're notified of the next time that I post a video. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. All right, so if you don't know about Brandon Bernard, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of context and a little bit of backstory. I don't honestly know much about the story of Brandon Bernard. I did that intentionally because I think that over this past year, I've learned that the killings of Black people and just the injustices that Black people face are something that I can't handle mentally for a while, probably. And so when things like this arise, there was another young Black man who was shot by the police, I think like last week. And things like that, I just can't pay too much attention to it, or else like my mental health is going to spiral the way that it did in June. So I intentionally kind of distance myself from learning about this story, which I know a lot of people might say, well, you're privileged, I guess, in that way to not have to know about this story. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of Black people, a lot of young Black people feel really helpless. And that's kind of how I feel at this point. But Brandon Bernard, he was in prison and on death row for a crime where I think 2 people were killed. It was a robbery, I believe, and he participated in the crime, but he was not the shooter. Apparently, this is from all of the information that I've gathered. Kim Kardashian did an extensive thread on his story. If you want to go ahead and go to her Twitter to read about that, or just look his story up, it's gotten a lot of coverage ever since Kim Kardashian really put her influence and her power behind this story and really got a lot of mainstream media to talk about it and a lot of other influencers to talk about it. So you might want to go ahead and Google it, but he was on death row for 2 murders that he actually did not commit. He was part of the robbery apparently, but he was not the shooter. And I think that that's been established, but he was still on death row for this crime and he ended up being executed. And so, yeah, it got really big like yesterday. Everybody was talking about it yesterday. And, a lot of people were saying to call these people and call that people, but it didn't end up working. And he ended up passing away. So rest in peace to his soul. I really hope that he is in a much better place than here right now. But a lot of influencers were then called out for not speaking up on the issue. And that is mainly what I wanted to talk about in this video rather than the Brandon Bernard case, just because 1, I'm not that informed on it. 2, he's already gone. And 3, I still kind of want to just talk about celebrities usually on this page. I don't really want to get into like super social injustices because it'll just bring me down. So we're gonna go ahead and transition to how people how people kind of went after influencers who didn't talk about the situation until it was too late. So first, let's start with James Charles. James Charles, he basically said he was being called out for not speaking up about the Brandon Bernard situation because a lot of influencers had. I know that Kim Kardashian was talking about it. A lot of, like, her sisters were talking about it. Just a lot of influencers I saw speaking up about the Brandon Bernard situation. And James Charles then took to Twitter and he wrote a lot of tweets basically defending himself and saying that he wasn't on his phone all day and therefore he didn't know about the Brandon Bernard situation. Do I believe this? No. I'm not gonna lie to you. I never believe when people my age, because James is only a year older than I am. I never believe when people my age say, oh, I wasn't on my phone all day, I just didn't see it. Lies. Unless you literally deleted the Instagram app or the Twitter app, which I'm sure you did not. I'm positive that you saw it. Especially an influencer, because literally their whole brand is through social media. That is your whole entire brand. So there's kind of no way in my mind that he didn't see it. I mean, maybe he's being truthful. He could completely be telling the truth and that would be great, but does it make sense? Not really, not in my mind at least. Also, and this is just something that I've always thought was weird that influencers do, because I've seen influencers say stuff like this before about different things. Like, I just logged back onto Twitter. Why do you log out of your Twitter and then log back into it? Who does that? Am I the only, I don't know if anybody else does that. I don't know if this is normal. Actually, comment down below if every time that you get off of, let's say, Instagram or Twitter or something, that you literally log out of your account. Because I find it very, very, very hard to believe that you're not always just logged into Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever all the time. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And then wouldn't it be easier for people to hack you if, you know what I'm saying? It's just weird that you would continuously log out and then log back in to Twitter and to Instagram, because they always say I just logged out. What? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I feel like he just said that so that it would make it sense that he wouldn't get the notification about tweets that people are tweeting about Brandon Bernard, if that makes sense. So I feel like he's really saying I was legitimately disconnected from Twitter and Instagram, which makes it even harder for me to believe. And I think that James in particular always has this sort of response every single time that he's called out for anything. He loves to write these long dissertations defending himself all the time. And it seems like he's on this whole, Shane and Jeffrey and Tati came at me, so now I'm just this perfect human being and now everyone knows that I'm faultless. False. James Charles deserves a lot of criticism for a lot of the things that he does. He really just does. And so I think that now that he's gotten in the good graces of everyone again, he thinks that he needs to go extra hard to defend himself so that people think that he's perfect, and that's not true. That's not what it is. I think that a lot of people still have wishy-washy feelings about James Charles, and I don't like how he always puts out long, drawn out statements like this to defend himself in situations where I think that in this situation he's clearly lying. I don't necessarily think that he's wrong, and I'll get into that later. I don't think that he's wrong for the initial situation, but I think that in his response, he's lying. And so it's just kind of why are you drawing out this lie? You know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel, but I'll get into the rest of my thoughts later. Charlie D'aMelio's tweets were also just weird to me. Why do you start off your tweet? If you're going to talk about Brandon Bernard, just talk about him. Why are you going to start off your tweet after not being on my phone all day? You're immediately defending yourself in a situation that I feel that's not what this situation calls for. If you're going to participate in, using your platform to be an activist, fine. But don't do that because you're being pressured to, and don't do that because you feel like you need to defend yourself, and therefore you're giving the people what they want rather than really speaking from the heart. Because I refuse to believe that a 16-year-old was not on her phone all day. Like, come on. Really, real talk. A 16-year-old was not on her phone all day. Like, I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I don't think that it's genuine. And I feel like it would have just been better for her to just speak rather than defend herself and speak. Because at the end of the day, people are still going to be mad at you because this defense doesn't make any sense. And people are going to immediately think that you're lying. Even if she's telling the truth, people are going to immediately assume that you're lying, because what 16-year-old is not on her phone all day? Especially one of the biggest TikTokers on the planet, like the biggest TikToker, 100 million followers. Come on. There's no way that she wasn't on her phone all day. Like that to me is just, I'm sorry, but I feel like she's lying. The same way that I feel like James is lying, I feel like Charlie is lying. Now, Dixie Damelio, Charlie Damelio's sister, was the first one to actually get straight up caught in this lie. She said, "I just opened Twitter to see all of this terrible/awful news." And then you go to her likes, and 3 hours ago, she was liking tweets. So I'm just like, dude, at least if you're going to lie a little better. Like, you don't have to just like be so obvious with your lie. You could be a little more slick like James and Charlie were, but like Dixie was not. Dixie was not as slick, and she ended up getting caught in her lie. It's just like, why do you have to, you don't have to say, "I just opened Twitter." Just like how James started his tweet and Charlie started her tweet. Why do you have to start your tweet like that? You're literally incriminating yourself. You're literally giving people something to attack you for. Legitimately, because you're basically saying, "Hey guys, I'm about to lie to you right now." And then she proceeds to lie. And then everyone goes to her likes and realize, "Yep, you lied." Like, I don't get it. I don't understand why they feel like they have to lie about this. Because either way, they're going to get attacked for not speaking about it. Either way, they were going to get attacked. So you might as well just speak about it and be done, rather than try to defend yourself. Because you were going to get attacked with that idiotic defense. I'm sorry, it was just dumb. And it was just a horrible defense on all three of their parts. And then we have Lauren Gray, who did the exact same thing. Why did they all start their tweet the same way? Maybe their PR teams are the ones telling them to do this. Actually, they might have just been directed by their PR teams to say something that dumb, because there's absolutely no other way that I can see them all thinking of the same exact excuse. Well, I mean, Charlie, Dixie, and James probably. I don't know if Lauren Gray is like part of their group, but like they all started it. So it was just such a dumb response. It was such a dumb defense, in my opinion. But Lauren Gray was also caught lying. Like, "I haven't been online all day." Actually, yeah, you have, because you were liking tweets. So which one is it? Like, don't sit up here and lie, unless she wants to admit that she's not the one liking her fans' tweets and her team is. Maybe that could be what it is. But hey, who knows? I don't know. All I know is that I feel like they shared one singular brain cell to come up with the defense that they came up with, because that was horrible. That was a horrible defense. Could have come up with something else, or could have just not tried to defend themselves, which I think would have been the most mature thing, and just spoken about it, or just maybe not spoken about it. But don't sit up here and try to defend yourself with a lie. Like, that's just dumb to me. So this whole situation has been seen before. We've seen situations where influencers are called out for not speaking about different situations that are happening. We've seen influencers be called out, like Selena Gomez was called out for not talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. And then she said, hashtagging it, something is not going to do anything. And then we're like, "Oh, so you think that Black Lives Matter is just a hashtag? That's cool." Things like that have happened where people are called out for not speaking about things that are happening in the world. And then they most likely will make a mockery of themselves. They'll most likely make themselves look really, really, really dumb. Here's how I feel about that. Here's how I feel about influencer activism. And this is how I felt about it for a while now. And I wanted to talk about it on my channel, but I didn't know exactly how to. But now is the perfect time, I think. Influencers do not have to be activists. I think that that is something that my generation in particular needs to stop holding influencers accountable for. They do not have to use their platform for anything but what they built their platform on. James Charles, he shouldn't talk, like, he doesn't have to talk about anything but makeup. Like, I know of a lot of influencers who simply just talk about what they like, what their niche is, what their thing is. Charli D'Amelio really doesn't have to do anything else but TikTok dances. And quite frankly, they don't even have to do that. A lot of people just follow them for their personalities. So truly, and this, I've always felt this way, influencers do not have to speak about these issues. Is it nice when they do? Yes. Is it nice when they do it genuinely? Yes. But as we've seen, a lot of it's been clear that throughout 2020, performative activism has really come to the forefront. So now we can't even believe if they're really speaking genuinely and from their hearts, right? So I think that we're holding influencers to a much higher standard than what they need to be held to. Just because they have a following does not mean that they have to speak up about everything. I would way rather people like, honestly, like Kim Kardashian, who are clearly passionate about what they do and what they speak about. Kim Kardashian is clearly passionate, clearly gets things done, uses her platform in a way that is effective, a way that, you know, I haven't seen a lot of other influencers do, in a way that it's clear that it's genuine. And I've seen, you know, like LeBron James, I think that he's very genuine. I think that, you know, there are a lot of influencers who are clearly genuine about their beliefs. And I do think that, you know, Charli and Dixie and all of these people, like, I think that they really do care about the Black Lives Matter movement to an extent, but at the end of the day, they don't have to talk about every single thing. And that doesn't necessarily negate the fact that they care if they don't talk about this one Black person dying or this other Black person dying or this execution or that execution, because it's just, it happens a lot. I can't even keep up with all of it, you know. I've decided that I am not an activist. And I think that they should probably make that clear, that they're not activists, that they're not as educated as they should be, that they don't have really what it takes to lead some type of movement or be at the forefront of a movement with their followings. I think that that would be more beneficial, so that people know what they're following them for. And if people decide, hey, I don't want to follow you because I want to follow an influencer who is also an activist, then that is their prerogative. But at the end of the day, they don't have to speak. And that's what I think a lot of people are misinterpreting. I feel like they're thinking, if you don't speak, you don't care. And that's definitely not true, because a lot of people might be doing things behind the scenes that no one sees. And then if they broadcast what they're doing behind the scenes, they could get backlash for that, because it's like, well, you're just putting on a performance. It's performative activism. So I think a lot of the times influencers really can't win in these situations. However, I don't think that how any of these people went about this situation was the correct way to go about it at all. I don't think that it's cute to sit up here and basically call all of your following Boo Boo the Fool and try to make it seem like you're going to outsmart your following by telling them that you aren't on your phone all day and that you logged out of Twitter and you logged out of all of your social media, so you just didn't see anything. Come on, y'all are all influencers, young influencers. That to me was a lie. So on one hand, you know, they could have easily avoided this whole situation if they had, one, just not spoken. Because at the end of the day, if they don't want to speak, they don't have to. And that's not something that I feel like they should be canceled for or attacked for. If you want to unfollow them for that, and if you don't feel like you should support them because you're like, you know what, I want an activist, I want to follow people who are about it as far as it goes with like the movements and things like that that are happening in the world, that is your prerogative. And I completely 100% respect that. But I don't think that that's something to fault them for or to really attack them for, drag them for, nothing like that, in my opinion. I wouldn't drag them for that because they don't need to. However, if you are going to speak, don't sit up here and lie to your fan base. Don't sit up here and make it seem like you're just much smarter than your fan base and will completely and blatantly lie to their faces. That is where I draw the line. That is where I'm like, okay, now you need to be dragged. Now you need to be attacked. And now that's where I'm like, well, do you really care? Because if you're so quick to lie in a situation, it makes it seem like you really don't care. And then it makes it seem like you only spoke to defend yourself. And I don't like that. I think that that is performative, and I don't like performative activists. If you're going to speak, speak, but don't speak to defend yourself. Don't use something like a man's execution, which I believe was wrongful. Honestly, I'm just going to put it out there right now. I don't believe in the death penalty whatsoever. He who's without sin cast the first stone. At that point, I don't believe in the death penalty. And especially when it comes to someone who actually did not pull the trigger, apparently, allegedly. I don't believe in that. So when you're going to talk about the execution of someone, the wrongful execution of someone, don't do it to defend yourself. Don't do it to get out of a situation. Just do it. Don't have any ulterior motives. And I feel like every single person that I mentioned in this video, and probably a lot of other influencers that I didn't mention in this video, are doing that. And I don't like that. And I think that that is disgusting. And I think that that is disrespectful to Brandon Bernard. I think that that is disgusting to his family. That is disrespectful to his family. I think that is disrespectful to all of the other people that have probably fallen victim to the same type of, usage for performative activism. I mean, Breonna Taylor, goodness gracious. The amount of people that have invoked her name to get themselves out of situation, i.e. Jeffree Star. I mean, come on. Prime example. All of these people are just showing that they don't care. And it's like, if you don't care, fine, you don't care. But don't sit up here and act like you do. Don't lie to your fan base. Don't lie to the millions of Black people who also follow you, who also believe that, you care about them when you clearly don't. Don't sit up here and lie. And I can't respect that. I can't respect people who do that. So I'm losing a lot of respect for these influencers. I really have never really had much respect for Lauren Gray. I forget why. But the Damelios, I used to really like them, but they keep kind of showing who they kind of are. I don't like that. I don't like the lying. James Charles, I have never liked him. I feel like he's a liar. I've always felt that way, and I just feel like he continues to lie and to make it seem like he's perfect and he's a perfect angel when he's not, and he's just always a victim. He's not. And just in general, I just feel like, dude, like, if you're gonna do it with your chest and do it right and do it without any other intentions except for bringing awareness to the situation. That is it. Because a lot of people can see right through it. I can see right through their motives. And I think that it's really disheartening to see the usage of someone's death as a way to defend yourself. I know that these influencers are young, and I know that they have a lot of learning and growing to do. However, I still think that they need to be held accountable for lying to their fan base. And for using, the wrongful death of someone, and probably multiple people. They've probably done this more times than we actually know. To defend themselves and to show that they're good people. And it's just dead that. It's a lot of performative activism. I really can't stand it. And I just wish that they just either would have not said anything at all or just said something and that's it, and not even tried to defend themselves. So yeah, that's how I feel about the situation. So that is it for me. Please enjoy this obligatory Tom Holland picture as I close out. But yeah, those are my thoughts about the situation. Those are my thoughts about influencer activism. And honestly, I don't think that we should even, expect influencers to be activists. I feel like a lot of people are really just acting like they care because they're stuck inside. But hey, that's just my opinion. That's just how I feel about the situation. If you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Go ahead and comment down below what you think of the situation. Do you think that we should hold influencers to kind of an activist standard, or what do you think about this whole situation? And I think it's an interesting conversation to be had, and I can see a lot of different perspectives regarding the situation. So I would love to hear what you have to say, and please do subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notifications so that you're notified of the next time that I post a video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.